Have you ever made a decision and subsequently wondered, was it truly my choice? You were confident, completely sure that you were acting on your own free will. But what if I told you, you weren't? Imagine this. A guy comes into a room full of strangers. Within minutes, he's smiling when others laugh, questioning himself when others disagree, and even picking the incorrect answer, just because everyone else does. No gun was aimed. No threats were made. So what happened? This is not fiction. This is the terrible reality about social influence. You see, we are controlled daily, not by dictators or monsters, but by our peers, our society, even by silence. The most hazardous manipulations are the ones we never notice. Influence doesn't shout, it whispers. And given the appropriate pressure, fine people violate their values, renounce their reason, and follow shadows into the dark. You've heard of peer pressure, but you've never seen it like this. Tonight, we unveil the mechanics behind the smiles, the cords that pull at your beliefs, and the quiet struggle for your soul. Welcome to the dark side of social influence. The invisible puppeteer. Social influence is the unseen puppeteer behind much of human behavior. It doesn't wear a mask, it doesn't raise its voice, and yet it dominates countries, launches revolutions, damages lives, and rewrites reality. It is subtle. It is patient. It is terrible. From the minute we join society, we are instructed how to talk, how to think, how to feel. We are taught when to laugh, when to weep, and when to be quiet. These things don't seem like manipulation, because they've been presented as normal. But normal is a changing objective, formed by the loudest voices and the quietest anxieties. What is acceptable now can be unlawful tomorrow. Not because the moral compass changed, but because popular opinion did. And in this battleground of belief, your mind is the prize. 2. The conformity trap. The psychologist Solomon Asch once ran an experiment. Participants were instructed to compare the length of lines on cards. The answer was obvious, until others in the group purposely supplied the erroneous one. Time and again, individuals abandoned the truth in favor of consensus. They knew the response was wrong, yet decided to comply. Why? Because social rejection affects the same portion of the brain that reacts to physical pain. We are wired to survive, and survival in the wild once depended on group acceptance. So we obey, we follow, even when the way is incorrect, even when our spirit begs to turn back. In contemporary life, it's not predators we fear, it's exclusion. So we laugh when we're not amused, we keep mute when we should speak, we nod when we disagree, and slowly, we dissolve into the throng. 3. Obedience to authority, the Milgram nightmare. Now picture this, you're ordered to hit a button. A guy in another room yells out in anguish. He begs you to stop. But a guy in a lab coat replies, "Continue? Do you?" In the notorious Milgram experiment, the majority did. They gave what they felt were deadly shocks, simply because an authority person directed them to. Let it sink in. We want to believe we'd stand up, say no, walk away. But history reveals another thing. Wars have been fought. Genocides have been committed. Lies have been believed. All because someone in authority stated, it's the right thing to do. Social influence exploits this demand for direction. It transforms obedience into a weapon. And the most horrifying part? You won't even notice it's occurring. For the mob mind, de-individuation and chaos. Now into the crowd. A single individual could hesitate, might question. But in a crowd, the ego collapses. Faces blur. Responsibility diminishes. Rationality is lost amid a clamor. This is de-individuation, when individuals lose their sense of individuality and morality in social circumstances. We've seen it in riots, in political rallies, in cults, in digital witch hunts. Ordinary folks become unrecognizable. They perform activities they'd never conceive of alone. Not because they're evil, but because they've sacrificed their identities to the group. It's not the darkness inside us that leads us astray, it's the darkness between us. And when no one is responsible, everything becomes permitted. The social mirror, approval as currency. We are social beings. We seek affirmation. Every smile, Every nod of approval feeds the ego, and the societal mirror becomes our guide. If others applaud, we feel right. If they disapprove, we second-guess ourselves. In this environment, truth becomes negotiable. We don't ask, is this right? We ask, will they like it? And there is the risk. Social influence substitutes truth with popularity, integrity with image, wisdom with virality. The audience becomes the judge. And in the court of popular opinion, justice is a coin flip. Today's heroes are tomorrow's villains. And no one is secure when applause is more important than truthfulness. 6. Cults, charisma, and control. What drives individuals into cults? Not insanity, not weakness, but vulnerability and the possibility of belonging. Charismatic leaders utilize social influence like a knife. They don't force, they guide. They talk in absolutes. They isolate. They reward loyalty and penalize disagreement. And soon followers don't know where the leader stops and they begin. From Jonestown to Nexium, the methodology is the same. Love bomb. Separate. Indoctrinate. Control. And it works, not on fools, but on the lonely, the lost, the human. Because when individuals are yearning for purpose, they'll surrender autonomy for approval. And when reality is distorted enough times, it breaks. 7. Social media, the new arena. In the digital era, social influence doesn't require a stage. It has a screen. Algorithms determine what you see. Likes select what you believe. Viral trends determine what you feel. It's no longer about what's true, but what spreads. We tailor our lives for acclaim. We become players in our own tale, screening away defects for likes, shares, followers. And in this desire for approval, we lose something sacred: honesty. Every scroll rewires your values. Every trend draws you a bit farther from yourself. And the scariest part? You assume you're in charge. 8. Gaslighting, the weaponized whisper. Social influence becomes most pernicious in one-on-one manipulation, when someone rewrites your world with nothing but words. Gaslighting is the art of erosion. It doesn't ruin you all at once. It nibbles away at your certainties, your confidence, your sense of self. You say, "That happened." They answer, "No, it didn't." You remark, "I feel hurt." They remark, "You're too sensitive." You begin to doubt your own thoughts. And once you question your memories, your emotions, your judgment, your barriers crumble. This is psychological warfare. And it's occurring in relationships, companies, even families. Because control doesn't always require shackles. Sometimes all it takes is uncertainty. 9. The bystander effect. When silence becomes complicity. You see an injustice. Someone's wounded. Someone's sobbing out. But you do nothing. You expect someone else will step in. Someone else will talk. Someone else will act. This is the bystander effect, and it kills. The more people around, the less responsibility each individual feels. And thus, the victim suffers not from cruelty, but from inactivity. And the throng becomes a cemetery of good intentions. In a world so linked, we are paradoxically separated. We offer quotations about courage, but scroll beyond suffering. We post about justice, but suppress our beliefs when it's inconvenient. And in that silence, evil flourishes. Resistance, the light within the shadow. So what do? We become conscious. We question. We resist. Social impact is powerful, but not absolute. It works best when unseen, when unchallenged, when accepted. But when you become aware of the draw, you can oppose it. You may say no when the mob yells yes. You can talk while others whisper. You can choose truth even when it's controversial. This is not simple. It is lonely. It is pricey. But that is the only way to stay free. Because freedom is not merely the absence of chains, it is the presence of clarity. 11. Final warning, the war for your mind. The battlefield is not out there, it's within your thoughts. Every message you get, every opinion you hear, every voice that tells you who you should be, is either sharpening your intellect or sedating it. You must ask yourself, whose voice am I echoing? Whose beliefs am I carrying? Whose approval am I chasing? And most importantly, who am I when no one is watching? Because the most destructive influence isn't from the crowd. It's from the part of you that wants to belong so much, it's prepared to disappear to survive. But you were not born to blend in. You were not intended to follow shadows. You were designed to see, to stand, to speak, to shine. And in a world of manipulation, your clarity is revolt. Your self-awareness is armor. Your voice is revolution. Conclusion: the courage to stay awake now you know. The murmurs behind the laughs. The strain behind the grin. The prison concealed in ease. Social influence is not necessarily harmful, but it is always strong. Use it or be used by it. Because in the end, there are only two sorts of people: those that follow the crowd, and those who lead themselves. So the next time the world tells you who to be, pause. Ask yourself, is this me or the echo of someone else? Choose truth. Choose awareness. Choose yourself. Even if you must travel alone, you will walk free.